Good afternoon and welcome back to College Football on Tap, brought to you by the On Tap Sportsnet. I'm your host Chris White, joined alongside by Bruno Ogier. What's going on, Bruno? How you feeling today? How's your week?
Good, good. Yeah, I'm happy. We're here. It's Friday. It's always a good day when you can have a beer. So, yeah, well,
Crack 'em.
I'm pretty pumped about it. Should be a good week of college football. I know it's not as stacked as last weekend. I was thinking this is the first time that me and you didn't really banter too much before the show. We were like, "Oh, it's 1:30. Let's just go on." And
Let's get this shit rolling.
so there might even be more banter as now we are, big. On the movies and everything.
We'll get into that later. I ain't letting you off this broadcast without some scream talk.
Oh, jeez. I hope you got through some more. But yeah, uh, this week you kind of put it in our notes. I looked through the notes a little bit of some things that we wanted to kind of get to, and I don't think we've ever started a show like this, but like Maction, man. There was there was a fun little Tuesday night because every single game, there was 3 games going on Tuesday night, all in the fourth quarter, all tied in the fourth quarter. So a lot of exciting games that ended up going on that day. And that's why I always preach, like, we need to watch some action. Action's the best thing in the world. I wish I was able to partake more with the work schedule, but, I still follow along and see how it's going. And at least I'm off the day after Thanksgiving as well, so I could watch some action on that day because that Friday is normally pretty big for action.
Nice. Yeah. I, like you, am not able to really partake in too much weekday action, but I know the group chat was going a little bit with me, you, and Fat Zach and Ross in there talking about what was going on, and I promptly checked everything Wednesday morning, at my nice 3:30 pulling into the parking lot at work. Cool down before I enter.
Yeah, I feel yeah. I mean, good games all around. Good way to start the week. Northern Illinois losing, not very pleased about it as they
That was
lost.
a field goal to Ball State, right?
Yeah, they fumbled the game away. A fumble late in the game, and it's just, how far NIU has fallen since I left there. I mean, it's sad. Like, me and Ross were there together, and like, I mean, it was the greatest time of our lives, and seeing them struggle, it's just kind of like, it's very disheartening. But I guess it gives me more reason to sit there and appreciate the time that I did have while I was there.
Yeah. I think you mentioned before, I can't recall. Did you end up ever storming the field there?
No.
No. Never any huge home wins?
No, because I mean, even like, there was a year we played Kansas, and it was just like Kansas was, I mean, that was Charlie Weiss, Kansas, but Kansas was like a 1-11 team like the year before. Like, I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, and we just kind of expected to beat teams, and that's kind of how it was because we maybe lost one game a year, and that one game was normally like go play Wisconsin at Soldier Field.
Right.
I remember one year they played Wisconsin at Soldier Field. We were there, and it was 7-7 at the beginning, and Northern Illinois kicked an onside kick, and everybody thought we recovered it, and then we didn't, and we were like, "Oh, we're gonna kick these guys' asses," and lost 49.
Final score 56-7.
Yeah, we lost 49-7, but
That was close.
and then there was an Iowa game though that went down into was a 1-score game into the fourth quarter at Soldier Field. That was a lot of fun, but they don't do those games anymore because they're just not the same school.
Yeah. Well, at least you had it.
Yeah. And
so some more weekday action. Louisville last night almost blowing it to Virginia.
oh my God, man, like Virginia honestly was the team that blew it in this one. I was sitting there, I was tweeting because I was at work, and I know not many people, especially here in the state of Illinois, were paying attention to that game because the Bears were playing at the same time. But it was like halftime of the Bears game, and I was listening on the radio, and I just went to ESPN really quick, and I was just like, wait, Virginia's up 21-14 on Louisville with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. This could be a huge upset. This could really shake things up in the ACC. And I looked again, like probably about 10, 15 minutes later, and it was 24-17 with like 7 minutes left or 6 minutes left. And I was just like, okay, like this is looking like Virginia might get it. And then next thing I see is Louisville had a 52-yard touchdown pass. I believe got a 4 and out, and then got another. I think it was like a 79-yard touchdown run or something, like, or 73.
Yeah, that'll kill you.
Like seconds later, like once they got the ball back and Louisville was up all of a sudden, and I was just like, what the fuck happened? Like,
yeah, I know yesterday, I mean, between Connor Bedard putting up 4 goals, the Bears playing, and a little college ball, it's a busy night for Chicagoans, Chicago sport fans.
Yeah, I mean, a fun night, obviously. I mean, I was driving to work listening to Connor Bedard stuff, and I was like, oh my God, this kid. It's just, I mean, even getting an opportunity to see him last week was completely like one of the coolest things. Just
kind of just like surreal, like feeling like you're watching Kane for the first time again.
I'm 34 years old, and I'm like, just like, I love this 18-year-old kid.
As I'm getting older, I'm kind of like doing that thing like, man, that kid's 18, making millions playing hockey. And I'm like over here being a piece of shit, you know, barely making it to my day job every day.
But we're both union workers. I mean, we're doing what we got to do.
Paying the bills.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that I was looking, I can't recall every single part of it. Let me grab my phone really quick. But Louisville losing last night would have just made everything in the ACC
tore the ACC wide open.
Yeah, I mean, they would have fell to 5-2. Georgia Tech's 4-2. Duke is 3-2. North Carolina is 3-2. Boston College is 3-2. North Carolina State's 3-2. Virginia Tech's 3-2. Like, we would have had 6-7 teams,
just an absolutely wide open opponent for Florida State.
Like, how do you, where do you even find the tiebreaker in this? Like, and that's all I was sitting there thinking. I'm like, that's crazy. And even
like you can't push Louisville through, because if that was the case, their 2 losses would have been to Virginia and Pitt. Like, you can't give them like strength of schedule bias playing those two, losing to those 2 guys.
No, it's honest. It honestly would have been crazy. Like, and I mean, I know we got Duke versus North Carolina this weekend. I was hoping that this would be a much more meaningful game than what it is. Both those teams we were high on early in the season. We kept on talking about the Blue Bloods, and honestly, Kansas is ranked.
Kentucky no longer is.
Duke's not. North Carolina's not. And then wasn't there one more?
There's 2 more, I think.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I don't think any of them are there besides Kansas, because I can't recall anything off the top of my head. But yeah, it's just like that was 4 weeks ago, and that's how quickly things could change in college football and college sports in general.
Right. Yeah, I there is at least another like
basketball, football. It's very, very bothersome right now.
I think there's 2 more, honestly, but I'm sure it'll pop up to us eventually. But yeah, I mean, the ACC, obviously, we weren't really expecting for it to be like a lot of fun this year, and then we kind of got some. Oh, hi, Sloan.
Oh, Sloan's up.
Go back to bed.
Chris is on a baby and Jack's duty right now by himself, so he's kind of doing a double duty task right here. So now you get that's really in action.
Work all day, come home, record a show, take care of 2 kids till 5:30, then go back to sleep at 7:30.
Yeah, that's how it's done.
But
at least been on TV tonight.
But no, like, we knew the Pac-12 was going to be a lot of fun. SEC and Big Ten are always a lot of fun. And then we didn't really think too much of the ACC. And then we're kind of like, holy shit, you know, these teams are a little legit. And then here we are again, like, well, kind of back to where we started. Yeah,
the whole conference sucks. And I mean, Notre Dame loses to those teams too, which is great. So,
yeah, you know, it's we'll get to it obviously in a little bit. But when I was making my underdog pick for this week, I was looking at my team's schedule and results over the season, and I was like, holy shit, that's a lot. Holy shit, that's a lot. Holy shit, that's a lot. That's a little. Notre Dame. And then back to holy shit, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's the ACC is just not what it is. I mean, we could kind of talk a little bit about North Carolina and Duke in terms of the preview of that game, but I mean, it's really lost its steam. No Riley Leonard in this game, which is really a downfall for Duke. I mean, I was even looking at the spreads on it. I can't sit there and take Duke anymore. Like, and
I think it's like 14. And then I was like, that makes no sense. So I looked into it. Their backup, now starting quarterback, is questionable for tomorrow.
Oh, even better for Duke. So that game just keeps on losing more and more steam. Like, we thought it was going to be a big one 3 weeks ago, and now it's
Drake May going to twist his ankle running out of the tunnel before the game starts. Like, how can this get much worse?
Like in the movie The Replacements, and they have that little string set up where the guy takes out all the cheerleaders as they're running out their first game. Oh man, poor Duke boys. And Drake May needs to keep on pulling up for his NFL draft stock. I know that he's the number 2 rated quarterback going into the draft so far this year, so we'll see how that progresses for him. I know they had a big win last week, but they played like Blueberry Hill or something. So
was it Campbell or was that 2 week's ago?
Yeah, that was Campbell. You're correct.
Big Brian Campbell guy, so that name just kind of stuck with me. But I mean, honestly, that's a primetime game. I'm sure when they made the schedule, it sounded like a great idea, but I could literally care less. I think the better game is going to be on at 9:30. It's a late West Coast game, Oregon and USC.
Yeah, obviously not the biggest game of the day. The biggest game of the day is Michigan and Penn State early in the early morning. Yeah, it's 11 a.m. But yeah, USC Oregon. What's interesting about it is just the amount of points that can be scored. I actually have not looked at the over/under for that game just because I know it's going to be 70 something. But
yeah, I think it might be like 79.5 when I looked earlier, but I might also just be making that up. I'm not entirely.
That's just crazy. I mean, and we know why USC has no defense. We reiterate it all the time. But USC, Oregon, Bo Nix is going to do everything they can to keep himself in the Heisman race. This college football playoff is very reachable for him. I still have him on the outs. I know we were talking on Monday that we thought Oregon would get to the point of falling behind Alabama coming into after the projections came out on Tuesday, and Oregon stayed flat at 6, and Alabama is still at number 8, I believe. I think Texas is number 7. So I was a little surprised by that because normally you instantly see that SEC bias. But Oregon's still showing that they're within reach. So I think unless they go out there and lay out a dud in any of their last few games, like they're going to be that next team up behind if they beat Washington in the Pac-12 title game and all those other teams that need to lose in front of them, knowing we'll get one of them, but it might not be enough to knock out a Michigan or Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked about it on Monday, how that game literally could have went any other way. Coaches mismanaging and field goals could have been made or missed. But I like Oregon. I think they look good. I kind of sold on Washington, and now I'm kind of back after last week. So, I mean, the Pac-12's kind of all over the place. You got USC and Oregon tonight, tomorrow, Utah and Washington. Arizona plays Colorado, so that's going to be kind of fun with how Arizona's on the up and up, and Deion's kind of –
I think that's
is that game tonight?
I think that's another 11 a.m. game, Arizona and Colorado.
Oh, okay.
It might be a little later, but for Arizona time, I'm just like, that's like, I don't know if Arizona's an hour or 2 hours behind us. I think they might be 2, and if they're 2 behind us, like that's a 9 a.m. game. Even in Colorado, it's a 9 a.m. game, or no, it's a 10 a.m. game there. That's crazy. That's the life that I want to live in.
Yeah, I mean, you're only losing that hour, I think, right, for the mountain time range?
Yeah, mountain time, and then when they go far west. I just don't know how Arizona kind of lines up with that. And Arizona also is like the one state, I believe, that doesn't believe in daylight savings, so they don't do daylight savings whatsoever. I think Chris is doing surgery right now on the baby.
Yeah, Bruno, I'm gonna have to hop off for like 5 minutes and change a diaper.
Okay, not a problem. I will
Keep the
continue.
show rolling. I'll be back I'll be back sooner than later.
Yeah, not a problem. Kind of expected that this might happen with the baby situation here, and Sloan, a newborn, doesn't really have control and doesn't realize dad's a little busy right now. But yeah, going back into the Oregon USC thing, Oregon this year has looked really good. Bo Nix is really good. He's up there for the Heisman race, and I think that there's a very good opportunity that they will go out there and destroy USC this week because their defense is just a little bit better than what I think a lot of people realize. Washington, after they beat Oregon, I still started to kind of fall a little flat on them. So it's one of those things where I think Oregon's going to end up winning the Pac-12 title game when it gets to a point. I just think that they're the best team. Whether they get in the college football playoff, it's beyond me. It's just because it's too hard to even analyze it right now. Something that I want to really kind of get into when Chris gets back from changing the baby. And I could kind of talk about a little bit here is just Michigan and Ohio State, or the Michigan situation in general, where they've been kind of talking about possibly putting some sanctions on them, possibly not allowing them to play in the college football playoff. How to kind of do, like, what are they going to do in general in terms of getting Michigan out of the college football playoff, possibly with everything going on right now. And they said it could come down as soon as today to pull sanctions on them before they play Penn State tomorrow. It's honestly just kind of one of those things where we don't know what to really take in as they go into one of their biggest games of the season, as they really haven't played anyone up until now. They are playing Penn State tomorrow at Penn State. The crowd at Penn State is going to be wild. And that's pretty much the only thing that I think Penn State really brings to the game, besides a good defense that still won't be able to contain Michigan. But with that, like how it's hard for this Michigan. It's got to be hard for this Michigan team to really get psyched up for it right now, honestly, because everything could just be taken away from them, and we really don't know. And that's what they kind of got to go through and guess and just take and stay away from the media. It's got to be ridiculously hard for that team right now. In terms of the game itself with Penn State, if Penn State doesn't throw the ball downfield, which we saw was a big problem when they played Ohio State a couple of weeks back, and something that we know that is a problem with Drew Eller in general, they're not going to have a shot at beating Michigan. The only chance that they're going to have at beating Michigan is having huge chunk plays. Look at that. It's back. Chris is back.
You know what? She naps every single day at this time except for today.
What can you do? It's also, probably getting used to she's getting used to daylight savings as well.
Say hi.
But I was kind of getting into the Michigan stuff, all the news that we've been seeing in terms of they might get a couple of sanctions on them that can come in place as soon as today, is what I saw, and right before this Penn State game, and just how it's got to be an effect on the players there. It's got to have some sort of negative aspect in their brain. It could really affect them in terms of, like, what are we playing for? Because we honestly don't know. I've even seen things about JJ McCarthy kind of getting his name taken out of the Heisman race, being punished for something that really has nothing to do with him, it seems.
I know it's more of a private thing than like a national level thing, but I did see that McCarthy just signed to Tom Brady's something or other. I don't know if it's a clothing line or a deal or whatever it is, but
yeah, those Michigan quarterbacks sticking together.
So what did I miss? We're in Michigan, Penn State.
Yeah, so kind of going into that, talking about how Penn State's going to need chunk plays in order to make this game even possible for them. I know it's at Penn State. They'll come out psyched up, but there's nothing I see that they have the ability to straight up beat Michigan, except for possibly everything that's going on with Michigan, the possibility of sanctions coming out today before the game. Like, I mean, it's just anything that's possible right now with Michigan, because we don't know. It could be any minute. Normally, it'll be as soon as we get off the chat or get off this show here.
They love to break news 2 minutes after we log off.
Yeah, I mean, that happened on Monday with the Harbaugh news that he wasn't going to be sanctioned in anything that had to deal with this, saying that he basically didn't know anything about it. But then there's other reports that come out minutes later, and it's all, I don't even know what's going on anymore. All I know is that it's all a big distraction, and it's just impossible to kind of keep up with at this point in terms of what's going to happen, because nobody seems to really know, except for just throwing like, hey, this might happen right now, this might happen tomorrow, who knows?
Right. And I mean, like, bottom line is it's out there, so obviously it's not happening. Teams have obviously had to change their signs. I'm sure they do that regularly anyways. And Michigan, apart from Rutgers, really hasn't played anybody yet. So we're going to see if, they are truly deserving when they have to face Penn State, Maryland, I think, and then Ohio State back to back to back.
It's funny hearing you say Rutgers as the major competition. It just still doesn't seem right. I know
I'm not trying to dog on them, and I'm not trying to make them sound great, but I mean
they're a good team, but
that's what it is. They're just outside of AP's top 25. They're kind of there, they're kind of not, and that is their PFF toughest opponent.
Yeah, it's true, and I did get into that a little bit too while you were taking care of baby duties. It's honestly like the best game of the day on terms of what the teams are ranked. A lot could get flipped upside down with a Penn State win, and it could kind of make this Michigan story a little less so straining on this college football season, just because that's what it is. It's like taking the life out of it, and it makes me want the 12-team playoff right now, so that I'm like, anybody could go out there and take this team. Anybody.
Right.
And like, I don't want to depend. I don't want Ohio State to be the one that beats them, because I hate Ohio State, and I'd much rather see Michigan win that game. And it's just, I'm just so sick of this fucking talk.
I'm just really annoyed that Big Noon is going to Penn State, because that should 1,000% be a primetime game.
Yeah, I kind of actually really do enjoy the 11 a.m. November cold weather Big Ten football. I think that Big Ten football in a way is kind of meant to be played during the daytime. It's kind of just a different feel for me in terms of just what
save under the lights for the SEC.
Not even that, because I feel like the SEC is supposed to play in the afternoon.
Who the hell's going to play at night, Bruno?
That's what the
Big 12, Pac-12, and ACC.
That's what the West Coast is for, and Notre Dame.
I don't know. I just feel like, I'm sure Michigan is at least 4-ish point favorite.
Yeah.
You could probably bump
they're on my card.
Bump it down a couple points if they're playing that game at night. That is not a stadium you want to go into at night.
Oh no, absolutely not. It's the whiteout is scary. It scares me. I have nightmares about it.
Terrifying, like Ghostface.
The ghost of Joe Paterno.
Better than Sandusky.
Oh god.
Ghost of Sandusky comes, you better start running.
On to other topics. I hear if you say his name in the mirror 3 times, he comes from behind you.
Have you tried?
All right. But yeah, I mean, Michigan should take this game, even though it's at Penn State. Penn State's not going to create those plays that they need to make. End of story. Hopefully, there's no sanctions that come out as soon as we get off this show. Zach Nat, I see you there in the comments. MSU upset of the century tomorrow. If they beat Ohio State, man, I'll buy you 5 cases of beer. Okay. That's a pretty good deal. Or maybe I'll get you a bottle of something really nice. I'll get you
pretty solid deal.
I don't know what you really like in terms of liquor, but
I'll give you a crisp high five and I'll be happy with you.
24 days of Christmas beer pack. That'd be pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I really got with that one. another game tomorrow. Honestly, what I kind of want to go into a little bit, I know that Ole Miss and Georgia is probably the next biggest game on the slate. Ole Miss is ranked number 10, Georgia ranked
Yeah.
number 2. This just kind of feels like they're going into Ole Miss. Right? It's at Georgia.
It's at Georgia.
Yeah, because I remember Georgia had the 2 ranked games at home coming up, and I just kind of really, or they had the one against Missouri last week, but Ole Miss always has this little thing to them that they can't win the big game.
Notre Dame.
That's just how it feels all the time. There was one year, I don't know if you remember, years back, that they were actually ranked number 1 in the college football playoff for like 3 straight weeks, and they ended up just getting to a game that was a big game for them, and then the next week, and it was just like, oh wow, there's only 4 or 5 of these college football playoff polls that they put out before.
Yeah,
it's time. Like, this is who's going in, and you're there for 3 weeks, and then you got back-to-back big games, and
yeah, that'll definitely do it to you.
And I saw a thing too that there's only been 7 teams since they started the college football playoff, I believe back in 2016, that have been number 1. 7 teams. Ole Miss is one of them. Alabama's obviously one. Georgia's one of them. Clemson's one of them. I believe Miami was one of them.
Interesting. Notre Dame never got to 1?
No.
Didn't they went 12-0?
In 2018 they were 10. They got to that point, but Alabama, I believe, was a team that year. Or no.
Weaker schedule, but SEC bias. That might have been Clemson's first year.
Yeah, I think it was Clemson's first year.
Is that Watson? Or no, Watson was drafted in 2017, wasn't he? Because he was with Trubisky and Mahomes. I don't know. Who could remember? It was so long ago.
I had a shocking moment when I saw that Trubisky's been in the league for 7 years. I'm like, whew.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, it feels like we've only been watching not Trubisky, but Mahomes for like 4 seasons max.
I think what it is that, I always come to this like realization of like time, like it's very long actually, but it's also very short. And when you look at it in terms of football, because you only get to watch, like especially in college football, you get to watch your team 12 to 14 times a year, and then it's over. It's 3.5 months, and then it's over, and or it's 4.5 months, but one of those games is played in January, and so we'll watch Notre Dame play their last game at the end of November, and then they might not play again until January 1st, and they won't play a whole game in the month of December. And then play one more football game. So it's just like, it's just there and then it's done. Same thing with like the NFL. It's like, yeah, we're watching it for weeks, but we're already more than halfway through the season, and you're just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, how did we get here?
It's kind of fucked up because, like, I swear to God, 2 weeks ago was week 0 and it was still like 75 degrees out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's crazy how fast things move, and then you kind of look at it in baseball time, and you get 162 games a year, and you're just like, baseball time, man. Like, oh yeah, this was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the Cubs winning.
What do you get baseball from our? If you follow it when pitchers and catchers report at the end of February, all the way until sometimes November.
Yeah. October, November. And then it's the same thing with like the NBA and the NHL. It's always part of your life for the most part, where football isn't always there. Like you kind of like circle draft day and shit. Or
yeah, absolutely.
Like for us, we circle National Signing Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, Georgia, honestly, I think in that game, it's just, I don't believe anyone can beat them until somebody beats them. And it's being at Georgia. Days. It being at Georgia, I just do not see an opportunity for Ole Miss to come through and get this one out, because I just don't trust they can win the big game. I haven't seen them do it, and until they do, I'm sorry, you're going to be on my list of teams that just can't get it done.
Yeah, my one buddy from work texted me just a couple hours ago saying Bama's going to beat Kentucky this weekend, whatever, make it to the SEC championship, and then beat Georgia. Georgia doesn't make the college football playoff, and it'll be, Bama, Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State. In what world? Obviously, Nick Saban can pull whatever amount of rabbits out of his hat he wants to, but that struggling offense going against that powerhouse defense, like, that's just not going to happen.
Well,
It would have to be a classic Nick Saban miracle. There's no way they're outplaying them.
One thing that I have to kind of look back to, though, is last week when Alabama played LSU, Milroe ran the ball like he has not ran the ball before in a game.
Yeah.
And that might be the start of showing something that Alabama's just been kind of like leaning back on, because they didn't want to know that ability to really kind of sit there and take over a game with his legs was there. And it could be something that it's just Bama's waiting. They're playing the waiting game. They know they're
not they're gonna go ahead and just throw 17 passes for like 160 yards all season long just so they get to the SEC championship and Milroe puts 300 on the ground, 250 in the air.
Yeah, that's exactly how Bama drew it up. Just wait and see. That's how I see it happening.
Look, I hate Nick Saban, but if he wrote a book, I'd probably buy it.
I'm sure he has to have something.
Now that I think about it, he probably does.
Yeah, everybody has some type of book or some shit out there.
Big reader. Ross, what's going on, buddy? Thank you. You're handsome too. Zach, yes, Jason is smoking that Columbus shitty weed. I agree. I don't like that take. I just can't see it happening. It would take a miracle. Maybe Saban has a plan all along, but we're just going to have to wait and see for that SEC championship.
Yeah, absolutely. But Alabama has to play Kentucky tomorrow too. At Kentucky, Alabama coming off of this game against LSU, this could be one of those Ross trap game type things, just because Alabama's coming off of a high. And I know that it really doesn't seem to really matter when it's a Nick Saban football team. They don't seem to be affected by these kind of things. But Kentucky's a pretty decent football team. They are definitely going to come ready. The crowd's got to be amped up for it. And sometimes that makes a difference in these games. And we've seen Alabama play a lot of tight games this year where they had to find a way to win in the fourth quarter. And that's why I was kind of making that Milroe comment about how we haven't seen him use his legs like that. And it might be another thing where he might have to kind of show out that to beat a Kentucky team. The defense is pretty good there in Kentucky. They're not going to blow you out of the water on offense, but they are going to make you work in terms of your offensive side of the ball. And they can score too. They're just not a powerhouse at it. But
I don't think Kentucky's like terrible by any means. They're a solid squad, probably just outside the top 25 themselves. They do have a good defense and they can score, but I don't think those big high games, those big time emotional games really bother Saban or Bama like they would any other squad. I feel like he just runs like what do you call before you go to the military? Like a boot camp type of practice over there. Like in Miracle when O'Callahan's like, why aren't they smiling? He's like, it's Russia. You get shot if you smile. It's like one of those things.
It's another one of those things where you have to watch the Swamp Kings documentary to see how Urban Meyer ran the Florida kids, because that's pretty much how I imagine Nick Saban, but maybe even worse. I don't know if it could get much worse, because I'll tell you what, like, if I had to go through what those Florida kids had to go through, I would have pussed out a long time ago and left.
You think it didn't work out in Jacksonville because these like 35-year-old 300-pound men were like, nah, get the fuck out of my face. That shit ain't gonna fly.
I'm not doing that. Nick Nat, what's up? See you there in the comments. Thanks for joining us. One thing I did know, if you are on X, or I didn't know until watching I believe Cubs on Tap the other day. I was watching Ron do his thing, and if you comment on X, we do not see them in our comment feed. So it sometimes if you are commenting on there, sorry, we might not see it because we do have to look at our phones in order to see that. But we do get your comments if you come to YouTube or Facebook. So we'll always give you a shout out. Like we said, if you have questions, have anything you want us to talk about, we'll talk about U of I, we'll talk about Troy. I don't care. We'll figure out something to kind of say in there. But we do
Georgetown at UConn this weekend.
Ooh, that's a good basketball game.
It's not a real game. UConn is playing somebody though. I do remember looking at them earlier.
Another game there in the SEC, big game this week. Number 13 versus number 14. My boys Missouri and Tennessee this week at I believe this game's at Missouri as well. Yeah, I really debated putting this on my card for betting just because I really want to bet Missouri, but that might be part of one of my parlays that I do that is just like, as I normally do, like an 11 a.m. parlay for those games and 2:30 parlay and a night game parlay. I hit the night game parlays. The drunker I get, the better the picks.
The more nonsensical they become, the better they are.
Well, the running back has a third leg. That's gotta help. Okay, fine. Jesus Christ, hard crowd.
This went over my head a little bit. It's all right.
Yeah, all right.
All right. I like Missouri. I'm staying on Missouri. I know that was a tough outing last week. They kept it. What was it? 13 points or 12 points. They kept it competitive with the best in the game. So, I mean,
they lost.
I think they look good. Is that Brady Cook over there in Missouri?
Yes.
Yeah, I like what I watched last week. Their running back, Schroeder, don't remember his name either. It's one of those two. That kid looks good. Their defense, we know what it does. I mean, I like Missouri over Tennessee, but I wouldn't mind watching Tennessee whoop the shit out of them just to kind of get an edge going into Georgia the following week.
Yeah, I mean, always chasing that pipe dream of seeing Georgia lose, I guess, but I don't want to relate the two to another, but I understand what you're saying. But I prefer Missouri here. I've liked Missouri all year. I want them to get a good bowl game. Last week they really showed the opportunity that they might have been the team to beat Georgia. They stayed competitive. If they play them 9 more times, they might get one. So, but I really like the play of Cook so far this year. I've turned on their games quite a bit. Being able to watch them just play my style of football. They're an SEC team that plays Midwest style of football. They are kind of in the Midwest more than they would be in the South, I guess.
It's definitely arguable.
Yeah. So with that, though, once again, Tennessee never shows up for these big games. It's the same thing as that Ole Miss syndrome. It's just like, why can't you show up to play in these big time football games when they really matter, when they really count? What's kind of surprising too is, both these teams are good, but they're both 3-2 in conference. They've had their losses already. I mean, I know Missouri's were to LSU and Georgia, so to no fault, and then Tennessee lost to Alabama, and I don't remember who they
was. It Florida?
Yeah, Florida. That was that weird game that it was just like, okay, this is who Tennessee is again.
Wow, maybe Florida's legit and Tennessee's not. And then 2 weeks later, maybe Tennessee's legit and Florida's not.
Yeah, one of those things. I guess it's at this point, we got to kind of get used to that in college football, is not understanding how one team competes to another team sometimes, because Notre Dame is like the prime example of that. It just, they literally will go out there 1 week and look like the best team in the world, and then the following week look like they've never played a game together in their lives. It's literally mind-boggling to watch sometimes, like the tale of two stories. But yeah, Missouri's continuously been in these games with LSU, with Georgia. They don't shy away from the competition. They were up late in the fourth quarter against LSU until LSU went up by 10. Ross, I got that game on my card. I got West Virginia. We'll talk about it. Ross in the comments letting us know his trap game already. But yeah, I like Missouri here at home. I just not confident enough to even bet on it.
Yeah, and reiterating, like I like Missouri. I want to watch them win. I want to watch them get a good bowl game. I just wouldn't hate the edge Tennessee could gain off them. But no matter what happens, I really don't think Tennessee beats Georgia.
No, I don't think anybody beats Georgia unless it's Alabama or one of the teams.
Not unless we're in the playoffs.
And I'm sorry to Ole Miss for being disrespectful to them. And they're a number 9 team. But yeah, even that game has a 10.5 point spread, and I'm like, I'm not comfortable even taking 10.5 points for Ole Miss in that game. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. We got to watch fourth quarter, week 1, fourth quarter Ole Miss.
Georgia gets up for the big games. That's what it is. And
I feel like are all their shit games away and all their tough games home too?
Yeah.
I feel like they don't play tough opponents on the road.
No, they don't. They hit it pretty easy. I know whoever they play. I know they play someone next week that when we were looking at it, and that's a road game, but that's not even.
I believe it's Tennessee.
Oh, so
unless they're the following week.
That Missouri game.
Yeah, it's Georgia Tennessee. At Tennessee.
Okay, so
who knows? Maybe Ole Miss, or I'm sorry, maybe Missouri beats a piss out of them and knocks them even further down the rankings, though.
What is that Tennessee Georgia game scheduled for night or mid afternoon?
That is a 2:30 slate, mid afternoon on CBS.
I will be at the Notre Dame game, but
you selfish bastard.
Oh man, I'm excited. I have to work on Sunday though. That's gonna be rough.
Ooh, starting that bullshit, huh?
Living in a casino for 2 days. It's actually kind of cool. Like we're working Sunday with getting paid time and a half to make up for, and we get paid on Thanksgiving, but we don't have to come in on Thanksgiving night. So we work into the morning on Thanksgiving and then don't have to come in, and so we get to enjoy the holiday. So I would rather work
straight to the Turkey Bowl or
yeah. Oh yeah, no, I am not. That's going to be one day that I do not go to sleep. I'm gonna come home. I'm gonna instantly put on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and I'm going to sit down and watch 3 football games and then a little Christmas vacation. Right? That's
Christmas vacation. Is that like a Thanksgiving thing for you? Yeah. Is that like a tradition?
Well, it's Nikki's favorite movie, and
favorite movie or favorite Christmas movie?
Favorite movie. Like,
nice.
It's not even a joke. Like you can walk into our room in frickin' March and April and she'll be like, "Oh, let's watch Christmas Vacation." No.
That's awesome. We watch it every Christmas Eve.
Yeah, no,
along with like 3 other times.
Yeah. I've always been a Christmas. See, here we go again. Movies. I always watch Christmas Story on Christmas Eve like 3 times and then another 3 times on Christmas Day.
You throw it in the DVD player, you stream it, or you just keep the TV on TBS all day?
Keep it on TNT. I did buy the
Or DVD. Is it TNT or TBS?
It's both. They do both at the same time. They don't stop. Zach
Home Alone is the best Christmas movie. Fuck out of here, Zach.
It's in my top 3. It's kind of hard. You know one that's really underrated? Surviving Christmas. It was like rated one of the worst movies of all time. It's with Ben Affleck and
very underrated, worst rated movie of all time.
It was some like award show. I think it came out the same year that Halle Berry's Catwoman came out, and it was like rated like it was between that and Halle Berry's Catwoman for worst movie of the year.
Nice. My favorite I think is Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And then arguably a Hanukkah movie, but I watch 8 Crazy Nights probably.
Oh yeah, I do every year too. Oh yeah, absolutely. And There's our movie segment again. uh, but yeah, we're fuck, I fucking forget. Missouri and Tennessee.
Missouri, good. Tennessee,
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, there we go. We're done with it. Like, wrap it up. Let's move
Moving
on.
on.
Let's move on, dude. Let's move on to Washington and Utah. That's what I was thinking. That game is very interesting to me.
Did
Utah defense being as good as it is, and Washington struggling a couple weeks ago against Arizona, and Utah being able to put up points of late. This is a very scary game for Washington and might be the most exciting game on the docket.
didn't I see an 11-point spread?
Yeah, I
Or,
saw
or am
that
I
too. And
okay? You did, okay? I wasn't
yeah,
making that up.
it's no, because
I
I didn't put it on my card because I could see it getting to the point where Washington blows them out. But at the same point, I just don't know what to make of Washington at this point, I guess.
I wouldn't even put free money on that. I mean, Utah's defense is great. They have been all year. We've talked about them a lot. Their offense is definitely up and coming. It only took 8 weeks, but they're finally coming around. I just don't think. I think it's going to turn into one of those games we kind of talked about Monday, how they're going to hold them down and then just get ran away from in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that being a very good possibility. I just keep on reverting back to how Arizona held Washington down. And if Washington didn't get a pick six, Washington probably would have ended up losing that football game. And that's just stuck in my brain. And that's what this game kind of reminds me of, because you're going to see an even better Utah defense than what Arizona has. No offense to Arizona, but Utah's defense is that damn good. And even without Cam Rising, Utah's been finding a way to play a much better offensive football game of late. They're a tough team. It's going to be very, very tough for Washington to just go out there and run away with it at any point. But at the same point, like, if there is one team that runs away with it, it's going to be them. Otherwise, like, I could see Utah winning this game by 3-6 points. Keep like it's definitely something to look at. I called it last week in terms of the team that was undefeated. Or was it last week or 2 weeks ago? It was 2 weeks ago with Oklahoma. I said that they were very likely to lose that game, and they did. I'm feeling kind of the same way about this Washington game right now, is that this could be a game that they end up losing. They're the team that's on the biggest upset alert out of the undefeateds this week, even with Michigan playing Penn State.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we saw all we needed to really see out of Penn State. I think 4.5 is a little crazy for Michigan, but no, I mean, we talked about it. It was a Friday night game early in the season. Utah played Oregon State, I think, and we were both really high on Utah, and Oregon State beat them, 10-14, couple scores.
Yeah.
And granted the game was at Oregon State.
Utah just better since then, though.
And then the next morning, I saw, or either the next morning or the week prior, we saw McAfee on game day talking about, it could be Cam Rising coming back, And then we kind of realized it was like, well, I mean, at this point, kind of got to just redshirt him, save a year, let him play next year.
Yeah, definitely.
But they're getting this offense meshing without him, and it's finally starting to come around. I don't really think this game is going to be that close. And Washington might be the best or the biggest team on upset alert this weekend. I don't think they're the most likely to not finish, or I wouldn't say not finish undefeated. I don't think they're the worst undefeated team, though. I think Washington would handle Florida State pretty well if and when it came down to
it. Yeah, I just honestly, I was so high on Washington at the beginning of the year, and as the weeks have gone on, I've just gotten a little less more on their side about things, and it's just
It
that's
was
why
that
I
game
see
against
Utah.
Arizona where they won by a score or won in overtime, whatever it was. And then they came back and they kicked the shit out of somebody who was decent. And then the same thing happened, kept it close to like Washington State when Cam Ward was still doing Cam Ward shit. And then you're like, okay, what the fuck? And then they go and kick the shit out of USC. And so it's kind of been a roller coaster with them up and down. I still think Penix is great. That defense is great for Pac-12 terms.
Yeah,
But
I get it. I'm just, I that's why I'm not betting it. I'm just kind of feeling it out in terms of Utah having that ability to do what they do. There's a reason why they put down teams like USC. There's a reason why they were the Pac-12 champs last year. They find ways to get it done. And I'm we'll talk about it on Monday when Utah wins. I mean, I don't really, I
I'm
don't really
rooting for
want that
Utah.
to.
You know I'm an underdog guy. I love watching upsets.
I don't really want Utah to win. I mean, I have that bet on Washington State or Washington to win the national title. I put a $20 free bet on them, so I'd like that to pay out. But I bet on them, so it's
You're selling your soul.
yeah. I just don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen anymore. That's where I'm at. With that, I don't know if there's any other big games that I really want to talk about, unless there was anything that you were really kind of. I know Arizona plays Colorado.
Yeah, we touched on that for a quick second. Same thing with South Cal and Oregon.
Yeah. So
Duke and UNC over in the ACC, we kind of touched on. I mainly just wanted to talk about the spread only being 14 with no Riley Leonard and no backup starting quarterback.
I think a lot of that is just North Carolina not being very good of late, losing games to Virginia, even though Virginia almost beat Louisville, but
Almost beat Louisville. They might be the next Arizona.
Virginia lost to somebody else who's not that good in the ACC. Like, got shut down like 23-0 like a week or two ago.
Virginia did?
Yeah. I don't remember who it was that they faced, but it was like, okay, like Virginia still sucks.
They got the piss beaten out of them by Georgia Tech, but I wouldn't call them terrible.
Well, they're a 5-4 football team.
They beat North Carolina a few weeks ago.
That was it had to be that Georgia Tech game that I was talking about for sure.
Yeah. Then they had a bye.
With really, really quick. I mean, not too much on the Power 5 college football New Year's 6 runners. We've been talking about Liberty and our boys James Madison looking better and better to at least get a bowl game. So possibly a James
JMU,
Madison
baby.
up there. James Madison, shout out to you guys taking down Tom Izzo and Michigan State in basketball this week. They're not just good at football. Yeah, sorry, Zach Knapp. But the first day of the college football or college basketball season, and you get that James Madison beating Tom Izzo game. Like,
was it you who I was talking to that they like Tom Izzo's nephew was a coach of that team and he like kind of booked him as a favor?
Yeah, his nephew is an assistant coach on the James Madison bench, and he gave them he signed them up for that game to come to Michigan State, just in order to like kind of help them out. And then JMU ended up coming out there and getting the win. Oh boy, I might have a special guest appearance here. Oh, Turner's here.
We got Sloan and Turner. We just need Kobe and Jax now.
We're getting everybody in here. But yeah, Zach Nat said that Michigan State did win last night, though. So good for them. I'm glad that they won. I know Notre Dame plays again tomorrow. They're 1-0. 1-0 under the Shrewsbury. Way to go, Irish.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Shrewsbury.
Yeah. Him and his son kind of taking things over. It's a very interesting team, but that's for another day and another time.
Really quick while we're on the subject. I forget who they were playing, but LSU women's already went down.
Yeah. It was Colorado. Colorado was ranked number
Oh, yeah,
20.
that's right.
So not a
I
bad
think
team.
Shaq's niece or somebody, second cousin niece is on the
See,
team.
Dion's even recruiting to the women's basketball team at Colorado. Nice.
But
Way to go, Coach Prime. um, but yeah, we got Liberty playing this week. And I think that was a game that they were. I can't remember who they're playing. I know Tulane's playing Tulsa, which should be a pretty easy game for Tulane. Um, Fresno State has a game this week that is very interesting because they are underdogs. It's a 9:30 game against San Jose State. San Jose State 4-5, 3-2 in the Mountain West. Fresno State 8-1, 4-1 in the Mountain West. But Fresno State an underdog with that game being on the road, so it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out because it kind of was one of those spreads that were shocking to me. What was the other? Because I know that somebody had a bye week this week in terms of the non-Power 5 conference teams that are kind of up there, and I can't.
Liberty's
Liberty's
playing.
playing Old Dominion. There it is.
I was looking at them earlier when I was looking over for my underdogs, and I was like, well, I just don't trust Old Dominion that much.
Yeah, Old Dominion was a good football team last year. They're still pretty decent.
They always put together like a semi-decent 500,
Yeah.
and then either one game above or below. They stay pretty consistent in that area.
Yeah, I was very kind of I was thinking about taking Liberty with my bets, and I didn't, but I kind of just every time I've done Liberty so far, they've been very good to me. So I was thinking about it, but nah, not this time. But yeah, that's really like Toledo got a huge blowout win against Eastern Michigan on Wednesday night. So Toledo continuing to keep their name up there. And we'll kind of just continue to see how it plays out with these teams. Fresno State having the toughest competition this week, but some of the other ones, like we might have to have another Air Force situation, like how it happened with the Army, just because Army
Air raid.
didn't even think that it was gonna be a possibility, and there we were. The Army outplayed them in the same style of football, not air raid football. That's Texas.
Not air raid football. I don't know. You might have covered it while I was on diaper duty, but for all those betting out there, Quinn Ewers is back tomorrow versus TCU.
I was gonna throw that in as part of the reason why I am betting on Texas this week. So,
Oh, okay. I just noticed we skipped over it, and sorry for stealing your thunder.
Oh no, you're good. Just take away Turner. What are you doing, Brush? What are you doing, Brush? But yeah, other than that, I think we could kind of. Is there any news, anything else that you really wanted to kind of get into before we go into what's happening in the betting world?
Not really. I mean, there's still so much shit to unpack with Michigan, so I'd rather just be able to read off of bullet points rather than skimming through articles. So when it's all said and done, we'll cover that more. Did I know we didn't talk too much about LSU? Did you happen to bring up Jaden Daniels at all?
No, Jaden Daniels expected to be clear concussion protocol. I seen.
Yeah, so there is expected. It's not confirmed yet, but he should be going this week when LSU faces Florida at home.
Is it they play tomorrow or they play next week?
Tomorrow at 6. Tomorrow at 6:30 on the SEC network.
The good old Florida game. Well, you know how I feel about Florida and the way that they play football games, but yeah, that would be huge for LSU. Otherwise, maybe on upset alert, but probably not. Florida's Graham Mertz is just terrible.
It's kind of weird. Like you think like Florida is this like abysmal SEC team, and LSU's like down on their luck, still pretty solid, but like it's unranked versus 19. The only difference is a win in that category. It's 5-4 against 6-3. Like I think of Notre Dame and LSU in a different category as Florida, and I'm over here like That's the same fucking team.
Yeah,
That's
no,
just one bad week.
yeah, that's literally what it is. It is the same thing. I don't think we mentioned Justin. I don't know what you were saying legends to, unless you're talking about me and Chris. I wouldn't put us on that pedestal, but
I might.
thanks for being in the comments. Good to see you watching the show.
Brian Ferentz has threatened us, so directly
heard it
to us.
directly.
Legendary status.
Yeah, I guess we are kind of legends. With that,
How I
yeah,
Met Your Mother shit.
I'm kind of ready to kind of get this ball rolling in terms of the betting slate. Honestly, I got carried away this week. I have
Well, you're already 1-0, right?
Yeah, I am 1-0. I because of the Maction pick that I gave out on Monday's show. I had Bowling Green out there to cover against Akron, and Bowling Green with an easy blowout 42-19 victory. Spread was 10.5 on that one, or 8.5 actually. And yeah, 42-19. I think that'll do it. So good job by the Bowling Green Falcons. I talked to Kevin Winters about that, who we called out. Thanks, Kevin. Good job by your.
Do you remember on Monday you were kind of like up in the air about another one? Do you remember what it was, and did you do it?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, no,
Bruno
that
lost, not on the record.
It was Eastern Michigan, Toledo, and Toledo had no problem with Eastern Michigan this week. So, yeah,
We'll just strike that from the record. Get that out of the transcript.
It was more of a lean. It's kind of like the same way I feel about Kentucky and Colorado and Liberty. Like those are like leans. Those are things that might make my parlay. That's ridiculous to try and win some extra money. But
like Dom's 17 touchdown parlays on Sundays, it's going to retire all of his friends.
More or less just like because I throw everything in the tier. So it's like if I have 4 11 a.m. games already on my card, I'll just parlay all of those next to the solo bets. But if I have like 2 games at 11 a.m. and then there's like 2 games that I was leaning on, I'll make a 4-game parlay out of that. Like, kind of put it up in the air. One week I'm gonna go like 11-0 or something, and I'm gonna win like 20 grand. Speaking of which, last night, Jack Sanborn, you kill me, man. If Jack Sanborn would have picked off Bryce Young last night on that dropped interception, I would have won $300,000 on DraftKings.
So, I saw that this morning in the group chat. That was fucking brutal.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't see it, but I heard how bad Jack Sanborn's drop was because I was working at the time. And then
was it like right in the hands?
Yeah. And then when I was listening to 670 to score at 5 a.m, and they were doing the Mulligan Hall pregame show, Dustin Rhodes replayed that play from the radio call. And again, of Sanborn dropping the interception at the end of the game. And I'm literally just like, why did you?
What did you need? Like fantasy points from him?
Yeah. So I had the Bears defense, and the guy who ended up like I won $40 was in like 1,500th place out of 117,000. But I was 4 points behind the first place person. I had the Bears defense. The first place person had Bryce Young.
So that interception would have docked him and bumped you. Yeah, that's
I get the 2 points for the interception, and
fuck sports.
Yeah.
Well, good thing that happened, because then I probably would have been recording alone today, and you would have been off at the casino or just dodging my calls.
No, I would have walked out of work and
got some actual sleep before we got on here.
Yeah, I would have been.
Fuck you guys. I'll see you Monday, but fuck you guys.
Oh man.
What is your overall record now on the books bets with
so we were in bad shape 3 weeks ago. We were well below 500. Didn't think there was any way of getting back near it. Now we're at 49-50. We're 1 game below 500.
Is that including Tuesday's game?
Yes. So 49-50 now. We've been winning for the last couple of weeks. Even last week, like I said how weird it was because I lost 3 games in the early slate, and then from there it was all wins. This week I saw quite a few games that were very interesting to me, just because I was like, is this spread for real? Like I mean, I know we had a few of those last week as well, and I mean, I thought Notre Dame was one of them, and look what happened there. But first one that I had up, Michigan, Penn State. We talked about it. This one just seems too good to be true. Michigan -4, even though it's at Penn State. I just don't see Penn State covering -4 in this game. I'm sorry about it, but at the same point, Michigan is just a better football team. They've looked dominant in every game that they've played this year. I know that the competition hasn't been up to par, but at the same point, I can't go against Michigan in this right now.
Yeah, I'm riding that one with you. I got them at 4.5.
Yeah, I didn't.
I know that you scour your shit like all week. I usually just like, I'm tired, drinking coffee, hating my life at like 5 a.m. on a Friday. I was like, that sounds like a good idea. Fuck it.
Yeah. I haven't locked it in yet. I kind of wait to see what's going on throughout the day today, and then early Saturday morning. Normally I'm up because I'm watching Premier League soccer at 8 a.m. But
Kevin Winters time.
Yeah. Another game that I took, we got number 16 Kansas versus Texas Tech at Kansas. Kansas -4 at home. Kansas has been playing great football of late.
After that, I can't even think of an appropriate word to say. Stupid +3 last week against Iowa State.
Yeah, I mean, that was a close game. It was 28-21, so it wasn't crazy, but it's also
granted I did think it was going to be more than one score, but I figured, 5.5, almost a touchdown would have been a little more fair, but that 3, I was like, how do you not jump on that?
Yeah. No, that was where I was.
3. Give me I put it on the money line.
Yeah. That was crazy that they were considered underdogs for that game. Absolutely. So, and I think this is another game of just kind of disrespect. Texas Tech has been really awful for the most part. Last week they beat they won 28-21 against what was their fucking name? TCU. They beat TCU last week, and TCU was coming off of like a 41-0 loss to BYU. The week before, BYU beat Texas Tech very handily, double-digit victory. I just don't understand this one either. I just think Kansas goes out there and at least beats them by 14. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I mean, 4 points, it just doesn't seem like enough for this game. So I took Kansas -4. Just seemed like it just seems too good to be true, kind of one of those things. Last week I bet on Nebraska, and that blew up in my face. So this week I'm betting against Nebraska. It's Maryland at Nebraska, 2 5-4 teams. Maryland a 2-point favorite. So taking Maryland -2 at Nebraska this week. Just the better talent at quarterback with Talia Tagovailoa. Maryland obviously hasn't been the same team over the last couple of weeks as they were season. But
who was it? Ohio State, the first team that beat them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't beat them. They just broke them.
Yeah, I mean, Maryland was good for 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter was the end of Maryland. So, but after Nebraska's lost last week, I just kind of don't have faith that Nebraska's gonna go out there and get this win. I know, and both teams are. There's a lot to play for. Both of them are 5-4. Both of them need a win to become bowl eligible. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes.
I haven't watched any Nebraska since probably the Colorado game. Is Jeff Sims still running the show over there?
Let me double check for you.
Because he had a really
is
awful start to the year.
No. It's Harbarg? Henrik
Harbarg.
Yeah.
That's a fun name.
Yeah. So he was taken. I don't know if he was taken out or hurt, but I know that it's been Harbarg for a couple of weeks. So yeah, the turnover machine is gone.
While one more thing while we're here, did you see that Matt Rule pregame speech to his players?
I did not.
Oh man, it got the fucking blood pumping. I'm gonna send it to you. I'll tweet it out after the show. It was it started off like a breast cancer awareness thing. He's like, you're playing for a mom, a wife, a sister, a daughter. But it was like a minute and a half of fucking like pure adrenaline to the brain, to the heart, to everything. It was great. I'm gonna find it and tweet it out once we get off here.
Okay, yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm in for some adrenaline pumping. I do got a
I'm
bowl tonight. I gotta be jacked up for that shit.
I'm like driving my kids home listening to like Moana soundtrack, and I'm scrolling through Twitter stuck at a train, and I'm like, holy shit, they're gonna play like some DMX and go 90 and a 35 on the way now.
What you really want?
Dogs start barking. Stay the hell out of my way.
See, Turner thought you were calling him.
Oh, sorry, Turner. Who's a good boy?
Another one that I took, coming off of the big win last week that Clemson had against Notre Dame. Clemson's playing Georgia Tech at Clemson still, but Georgia Tech plus 14.5. Georgia Tech has been playing very solid football.
Very decent squad.
This in a way seems like it could be like a trap game for Clemson because they do have the high emotions after winning last week. So 14.5 points seems like a lot of points to me. I don't think Georgia Tech's going to let it get out of
reach.
Is this true? Apparently, Yep. Breaking news while we're in the middle of the show.
Oh, we're breaking news. Hell yeah, Bruno, get that shit.
Big Ten expected to discipline Jim Harbaugh, preventing him from being on the sideline for the rest of the season, rest of the regular season. So starting tomorrow with the Penn State game.
Let's go. Ooh. Breaking news. Harbaugh is being disciplined and won't be allowed on the sideline the rest of the season. Fat Zach, you almost beat Bruno. Holy shit. We broke news.
Zach was in the comments. I just I saw that and then I looked at my phone to confirm. And
so Zach, I thought you got the update. Well, congratulations, Zach. You broke the news.
Thanks for giving us the heads up there. Appreciate it. Our correspondent out on the streets.
You know, the first 3 games of the year was like fucking Eastern Carolina, UNLV, and someone else. And now the last 3 are going to be Ohio State, Penn State, and Maryland without Harbaugh.
Wow.
And that has to assume the playoffs, should they get there, as long as they haven't found a
how
permanent...
does this change the spread?
Get on DraftKings right now. I'll check FanDuel.
-1. Wow. Wow. Okay. So we were saying it about an hour ago when we started this show, or I was
saying. Good thing we were talking about movies, because we probably would have been wrapping up.
So actually, I was talking about when Chris was changing Sloan's diaper over there, and I kind of brought it up that I didn't think it happened at this time, and that there was news that Harbaugh wasn't involved, didn't, and now all of a sudden I guess he is, because here we are. Wow.
So no Harbaugh on the sideline. Can he practice?
That's going to be stuff that we'll have
Unclear.
to figure out.
That's obviously the NCAA. Michigan isn't going to sabotage themselves twice.
Yeah. Wow. So there's the first part of the Michigan discipline. It's starting to come down. It's starting to unravel. They're not taking away the college football playoff at this point, but I stay tuned for what could happen within the hour or two, because I think more news might be coming out.
Okay, so the official headline is Harbaugh banned 3 games.
Okay, so the rest of the regular season, and he is eligible for the college football playoff.
Should they not
the Big Ten championship game?
Big Ten champion. I was just gonna say, should they not find like a final verdict or whatever you want to call it by then?
He can't coach against Ohio State. Ooh. I mean, I think it makes tomorrow's game more interesting too, but
he still never beat them, you know, apart from the sign stealing years. So PVS Jason, the guy I work with, I talk about frequently, just texted me semi-slap on the wrist for Harbaugh. Kid's an Ohio State fan. Doesn't know how lucky he has it right now.
Ohio State, bunch of crybabies.
The hell's a Buckeye, anyways? Why is your mascot a nut?
What is that? Jesus, stupid.
Rip Jimmy. Fuck yeah, Rip Jimmy.
Stars on your helmet.
I don't even know what the hell we were talking about. I'm all pumped up now.
It's
like I just watched Matt Rule's pregame speech.
We have this happen. How many times when we've done this show?
At least probably 4 times now.
Yeah, I mean,
something broke within the first 20, 25, 30 minutes of us getting off.
Yeah. So, wow, what a cool moment for us. This is here's buddy.
Crack 'em.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So Georgia Tech plus 14.5 was where I ended at, but who the fuck cares?
Calvin Johnson Tech plus 14.5 book.
Next one I had, we got North Carolina State going into Wake Forest, a team that I will be seeing play the Notre Dame Fighting Irish next week in Wake Forest.
Good to know in those signs.
Yeah, so North Carolina State -2. North Carolina State, Dave Doran, former NIU head coach. You ain't going to let me down on this one. North Carolina State, I think, covers this one pretty easily. Wake Forest is not the same team as they have been in previous years with Sam Hartman, even though me and Sam Hartman are kind of fighting right now, but whatever.
Yo, are you guys on a break? Is that official?
Yeah, well, God damn it. Yeah, fuck him. So
sources confirmed from himself, they are on a break.
North Carolina State -2. Just seems like I'm actually seeing at -1.5 as well. So hopefully I get at 1.5 when I do go ahead and place the bet. Another one that I had on my card, we got Oklahoma State against Central Florida at Central Florida. Central Florida 1-5 this year in conference. Oklahoma State coming off of a big win against Oklahoma. Unless this is a Ross trap game, -2.5 for Oklahoma State. Is this?
Am I crazy, or didn't somebody put that in the comments about Oklahoma State trap game?
That's the West Virginia game.
Okay, maybe I saw a tweet or something.
It's West Virginia. That it was Ross. He was saying that West Virginia. Oh, he did say Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not playing Oklahoma State. They're playing Oklahoma, Ross. West Virginia versus Oklahoma.
I was going to say, like, I swear, like, I'm not making this shit up. I'm not seeing shit.
Yeah, no, I was, that's another one that I had on my card as well as West Virginia getting a lot of points, 11.5. So I'm kind of with them there, and I was thinking the same thing, but I don't know if it's a trap game as much anymore because Oklahoma's been really bad the last couple of weeks. And they had quite a few struggles before then, as they barely beat Central Florida, who once again not very good. That's why I'm taking Oklahoma State here -2.5. I think that's one of those games where I just don't understand how the spread is so low on it. Another game that I had on tap, we got Minnesota going into Purdue, West Lafayette. Minnesota, you could take them on the money line, you could take them -1, but Minnesota's been playing very good football of late with PJ Fleck.
I love PJ Fleck.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of that turtleneck shit.
He's not. Come on, put some respect on the vest.
But yeah,
would you wear a vest and tie in the middle of?
It's true.
I was going to say
it is a good look.
That doesn't.
It is a very good look.
Is that new Rockney out there?
Minnesota -1 here. It's just Purdue's been really bad. I know it's at Purdue, and that might be the only thing that kind of does anything, but I don't even know if that matters. I doubt people are showing up to this game to watch Purdue play anymore. There might be more Minnesota fans in the stands, honestly.
Like, don't go to that garbage.
Yeah. So that one just kind of seems like another one that's like, okay, is this for
I
real?
did just learn recently that Aiden O'Connell was like the first Purdue guy to actually get that team or that school kind of pumped up since like Drew Brees.
Oh yeah, I mean they are like a
Yeah.
very big quarterback university. Everybody's always talked about how they've had all these great NFL quarterbacks and shit. So yeah,
Not so much recently, but they've put their fair share out there.
I thought Aiden O'Connell was a freaking Michigan State guy. Shows how much I know, but
Ashamed.
shame. Another one, Ross brought it up. We were just talking about West Virginia plus 11.5 against Oklahoma. Just seems like a lot of points. I'm kind of upset with myself. I meant to mention this beforehand with going into this. Like the nightcap's very Big 12 heavy. I hate betting the Big 12. I've mentioned this many times. I am not a big fan of it. It always blows up in my face. But here I am. I'm going with 3 straight Big 12 bets. So I got West Virginia plus 11.5. We have Houston playing against Cincinnati at home.
Houston's been treating me very well lately.
They're minus 2.5 at home against Cincinnati, who's 2-7, not adjusting well to the Big 12 as Houston is starting to make their turn in the Big 12 here. They've been playing good football over the last couple of weeks. I know they had like one really bad blowout. I think they lost 41-0 to Kansas State. But the week before, they lost 31-24 to a good Texas team. They've won they won 25-24 last week against Baylor, I believe, and they won prior to that Texas game. So they've been back and forth, but they're playing better football. I think they're the better team in this game. So I'm going to go with Houston minus 2.5 against Cincinnati. Got Texas playing TCU. Quinn Ewers is back. TCU is not very good. TCU did have a big upset last year against Texas. Texas is going to have
totally different team last year.
Yeah. I think Texas is going to go out there and play their best game of the year. Quinn Ewers being back, this team needs to win to keep their contention for the college football playoff. They can't afford to have dud games where they are even close with other teams right now that are at this level. So I'm going to go with Texas here, minus 12.5. Quite a big number for me, which I've been trying to stay away from, which has been helping me win. But TCU is just not very good. And last but not least, I kind of mentioned it earlier with the Fresno State going into San Jose State. Fresno State plus 2.5 being the underdog here. As good as Fresno State has been, I just don't really trust San Jose State to be that much better than Fresno here. So I'm going to take Fresno plus 2.5, and that will lock up my 11-game slate that I have for you on Saturday.
Chris? I like it. I'm gonna piggy bank a couple of those. Piggy bank? Piggyback? Is it piggyback?
Yeah, that's tail, piggyback, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I myself 9-2 to improve to 9-2. I believe. I believe I'm currently sitting at 8-2. When I saw this game, I was like reluctant, like, I don't know, is this actually real? Then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, who in their right mind gives – it was 15.5. It's now 16 to USC. We know they can't play defense, but we know they can score. Starting all the way back to week 1, 56, 66, 56, 42, 48, 43, 48, 34, 50, 52. They put up numbers. I'm sorry, 20 was week 7. That was a week they lost to Notre Dame. Besides for that 1 week, they put up numbers. We've watched Oregon go back and forth with Washington in that high-scoring game. And I think as long as Caleb Williams kind of doesn't, throw interceptions the way he did against Notre Dame, or lose a ball a couple times the way they did last, or was that 2 weeks ago? No, that was last week against Washington. I think it's going to be a similar story to what we saw against at last week's game. It's going to be high scoring. if Oregon runs away with it late, I don't care. I have 2+ scores, so I think USC is. I wouldn't call it a lock because I'm not a betting guy, but that is the most sensical underdog for me to pick this week.
I feel
I'm
you
taking
on
them
it.
to go 9-2.
I feel you on it. This would probably be a game that I believe it might be a 9 o'clock start even. I know
9:30 on national television.
Yeah, so there's a good chance that I'm gonna bet this just because I need something else to stimulate my brain.
I'll be watching Scream. I knew we'd get there with.
Yeah.
I'll be watching Scream with that on the laptop because
that's what I'll be doing.
I believe the other bigger later slate is it's Duke, North Carolina, and with no Riley Leonard, with Drake May, being caca late in the season, I've kind of just lost a lot of likeness in that team.
Yeah,
I'm starting to care much less about the ACC in general this year. So
yeah, that's kind of been the sentiments that a lot of people have had as kind of wind down into November. Yeah, I'm with you. Me and Nikki are planning a stay at home weekend because I've been pretty much sick for 2 weeks now, and after bowling tonight, I just want to come home and then kind of not leave the house for 2 days, just rest up. So we'll probably end up watching a movie or two as well. And I haven't watched a new episode of Found. I know she hasn't. The show I was talking about last
Here
week.
we go again.
So, yeah, I got her to watch it. She watched it all on Monday night. Like she didn't go to bed until almost 11 in the morning or 11 at night.
What? Oh,
yeah. Like
I was like, what?
She starts work at 6 a.m. Didn't go to bed till 11 because she couldn't stop watching. So I'm telling you,
that's why I can't watch TV shows. I do religiously. I'm a huge TV guy, but I have this issue with turning the TV off.
Yeah. Well, see, that's why you got to watch ones that come out in terms of weekly segment, like not all at once. That's what makes it hard.
I love that. I love watching an episode a week. I hate season finales though, and waiting 9 months.
Yeah,
if I was a soap opera guy like my mom,
like
where I get a week no matter what, or an episode a day.
Like a show like this though, like if it gets picked up for another season or whatever, like this is on from September until April, May. So then you only have to go 4 months because it's an NBC show. Like the only times that you get breaks from it, it's like, oh, well, it's Thanksgiving week, so it won't be on for the next 5 weeks until Christmas is over, and then it'll start up again in January. So you get like a 5-week intervention.
Mid-season finale.
Yeah, where you want to watch freaking Christmas movies and shit anyway most of the time. So it's like, okay, it's good to have a little break from it.
The last NBC show I watched kind of just broke my heart.
What was that?
You guys had to have watched Manifest, right?
Oh, no, I haven't.
You didn't watch Manifest?
No.
Bailey and I watched it when it first came out. Like we watched like the premiere like 2 hours
creators
later.
Of Lost?
What?
Was that the one from the creators of Lost?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Was it about a plane? Was there a plane in it? Yeah, okay, then yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about. I made a joke to Nikki about it. I'm like, what's up with this fucking guy and his obsession with planes? Like, and death. Like,
but like we watched the first like 2 or 3 episodes, like watch them every week as they came out. And I was like, what the fuck is this garbage? And then I don't remember what I was watching on Netflix, or I probably saw like a TikTok about it, and I was like, damn, maybe I should give it another shot. And I watched it all, and the cocksuckers canceled it. And I was like, well, this is bullshit. It ended mid-season. Like there was no like good ending. Then Netflix picked it up, made a final season. I was like, all right, I could live with that. You didn't leave us without answers.
Yeah, that's always rough. Like it's hard sometimes when you get into new shows on NBC and shit too, because like they literally might just call it right away. I remember there was a show, I forget if it was on NBC. I think it was on NBC, but it was definitely a show that you would like too. It was called The Black Donnellys. They had 6 episodes only, and it was over. They ended up like releasing a DVD set for us to get a conclusion to it all. Because
Did you buy it?
Yeah, it was great. It was so good. And the only reason why it didn't take off, like, because the first episode, it came on, I think, after Sunday Night Football, I want to say. So yeah, it was NBC. And
No 60 minutes?
And the first episode had like an insane, especially for the time that it came out, like 26.1 million viewers. But after the first half hour, it dipped.
2,600 viewers.
And after the next half hour, it dipped. And then the next half hour, it dipped. And they were promoting the show like crazy. And then the next new episode that they showed, or they like showed on its regular night then, because they did it just because it was after the NFL. And then they showed the new episode, and it was like down to like 3 million viewers, and then it was down to like 2 million viewers, and then like by episode 5 it was canceled. And the only reason for it was because the first half hour of the first episode is one of the most it's just confusing, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I don't
so is the ending of The Shining. It's still a good movie.
Yeah, it's just that people couldn't gravitate to the interest of it because it was so like wonky at the beginning. But then literally after you watch the first half hour, that's when it got good. It was like, oh, okay, it all makes sense.
So everyone turned it off at like the half-hour commercial break, and then all the good shit starts happening.
Probably made the worst half hour to a TV show ever, because they made it so like, okay, you guys have been, because the way they promoted it, it was just like a normal Irish, like a bunch of Irish gangster type kind of thing. And it was just like, this doesn't seem like what you guys have been promoting for the last 6 weeks. And then bam. And yeah, it was really good. I don't know. It's got to be at my mom's somewhere, but now I want to watch the Black Donnellys. It might be on Peacock.
It's only 6 episodes and like a conclusion on a DVD.
Yeah, I think it was 6 episodes, and then like they had like another 4 or so recorded, so they did 10 episodes so that you had a full season, and they ended it where they ended it. But and there was talks about somebody else picking it up, and it never happened. This had to be 10 plus years ago now. So, but
yeah, so you didn't even have like Twitter for people to be like, oh shit, turn the channel back on. It's actually getting pretty decent.
Yeah, it was way back before social media and shit kind of took over everything in terms of that aspect, because it was definitely a show where you were like, damn, okay, damn. Like, you know, it had that Sopranos vibe, but it was Irish people.
I like it. For all of you still with us.
People, there's still 4 people watching just to hear us talk about movies and stuff on College Football on Tap, because we do this every week.
I actually put in like our notes segment like movies probably. So we're getting a little TV show today.
Yeah,
it was UCLA, Bruno, the other blue blood basketball school.
Yes, okay, yeah, and they're not.
I googled it like halfway through the show, and I just forgot about it.
Are they still in the top 25?
No. Chip Kelly got sailed out 2 weeks ago.
Okay. My mom loves the TV movies today. H&G, I don't know who you are, but thanks for being in the comments today. Appreciate it. And everyone else who was in the comments, this makes the show a lot more fun for us. Like we said, we've answered questions in the past. Like we've answered about Northwestern. Hopefully Northwestern can find a way to get into a bowl game. I saw that one of our guys here on Tap put a little article out about bowl games for the area schools. So Illinois 4 and 5 this week has a shot.
Yeah, Gabe, I saw that driving home. I'm going to give it a read once we're off the air, and I got Sloan settled in so I could stop finally rocking her after the last hour and a half.
Yeah, so appreciate that, Gabe. Definitely check out Gabe's article on the Illinois schools, Illinois, Northwestern, Northern Illinois, and then, Notre Dame's out there too. Notre Dame will definitely be in a bowl game of some sort.
Toilet bowl, most likely.
Not one that we want them to be in, but I will take anything for Northwestern. And if NIU finds a way to get into one after losing to Ball State, like I would be very.
They've got to win out, right?
I believe so now. I think that they fell to either 4-5 or 4-6. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But anyway, I'm all good here. I this always having fun with you, Chris. Always having fun doing this show. We'll be
Maybe we'll get a pop culture show to talk about next. We'll just
I
hop
don't know
right over
why
to that studio and
I don't know if Tony and Ron are watching right now, or any of the higher powers that be at on tap. But if you guys like what we're talking about, we can pretty much go on this all day.
all right, guys. Thank you. Have a good weekend. This has been College Football on Tap, brought to you by the On Tap Sportsnet. Goodbye.
Follow us all week. Tomorrow we'll be in the chats.